Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is June 20th, 2022. And today we have huge bombshell news, starting with Barcelona are set to receive a huge financial fair play boost. You're not going to believe it. I'm going to tell you what it is. Also, Barcelona are confident in regards to the registration of Nico Williams, and I'm going to tell you why. And finally, Deco has met with a Swedish promising attacker. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and welcome to the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, where not only do we discuss Barcelona news, but of course we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, getting that discussion going. And as always, of course, podcast days are my favorite days. Now, for those of you watching when this ends and you don't want to hear the discussion, you don't want to read the comments, don't worry. I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment if you are looking for any merchandise, jerseys, kits, whatever, not just of Barcelona, but any football team or any sports team around the world. Make sure to Goal Kits, Kit Bag, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, get access to some pretty cool deals, offers, discounts, courtesy of Barca News. And don't forget, for channel members, tomorrow, Saturday, is the weekly podcast exclusive for channel members only at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I made a post for members only. If you have any topics, any questions you want me to answer, anything you want me to talk about, drop it in that comment, in that post. And if you want to watch it, you can become a member by going to your home tab, to the home tab of the channel, and then hit the join button. All right, let's begin with the news. The first segment of this podcast, as always, it's a combination of several bits of news. It started with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's official. Well, it was already official, but it's more official now, I guess. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Joan Garcia today put pen to paper. He is officially a Barcelona player. As you know, Barcelona had already reached an agreement with Joan Garcia. Contracts had been signed. Then Barcelona activated the release clause by paying a 25 million euros with La Liga, or depositing it with La Liga, which the player then used to pay Espanyol and break his own contract. And while today, Joan Garcia arrived at the Barcelona offices where he did the official signing of the contract, the ceremony with the pictures with Jean Laporta, and of course, pictures at the museum with the Spotify Camp Nou Stadium. But ladies and gentlemen, it's 100% official. Joan Garcia will be Barcelona's newest goalkeeper. The 24-year-old Spanish goalkeeper has officially signed a contract until 2031. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a goalkeeper for many, many years to come. Now, Joan Garcia did have his first words as a Barcelona player. And this is what the Barcelona goalkeeper, yes, we get to call him a Barcelona goalkeeper now, had to say. I am very happy. I was really looking forward to this day, and it is finally here. My goal is to keep growing as a goalkeeper and to win a lot, to achieve great things with the team. That is why I came here. It is a very exciting project with a great team and very young players whom I already know. I'm really looking forward to getting started and being with them. I consider myself a brave goalkeeper, quick with reflexes, and someone who tries to contribute in the air. It's a very special to see the model of the Spotify Camp Nou. It's impressive. I'm looking forward to playing there, and I'm sure we'll achieve many victories at the stadium. So there you have it, folks. The words of Joan Garcia, officially now a Barcelona player, a Barcelona goalkeeper, saying that he came to this team to achieve great things, to win trophies. He cannot wait to play at the Camp Nou, where he's sure he will win a lot of things. And, well, I hope so, my friend. I hope so. Now, Joan Garcia's dream was always to play at Barcelona since he was a little kid, since he was a 5-year-old. Years old. There was all kinds of posts that were unearthed, or pictures of him when he was a little kid with the Barca jersey, surrounded with Barca paraphernalia, flags, scarves, etc. But for some reason or other, he ended up at Espanyol, but now he's fulfilling his childhood dream of playing for Barcelona. By the way, a huge campaign now being launched against him by the Espanyol fans on social media, which, it's unfortunate. I get it. There's a rivalry, but let's be honest here. That rivalry is not that as serious as Espanyol fans think it is. Yes, there's historical meaning behind it, but come on, let's be honest. The Wolves don't consider themselves with the opinion of sheep, and this is the situation here. We have Barcelona, a wolf, versus Espanyol, who are nobody, right? They're a nobody club. They're a second division club. Yes, they play in first division, but they're a second division club, let's be honest. So the rivalry is not that serious, Espanyol fans. I get it if this guy was changing Madrid for Barcelona, Barcelona for Madrid. You're talking about the two biggest rivalries. They're two big clubs where both, you could be important. With both, you can make money. But Joan Garcia is switching a nobody club for Barcelona. Of course, you can't blame him for doing that. He's going to be playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. He's going to be earning, I think, something like 10 times of what he was earning in Espanyol. You cannot blame him to make that move. Not everybody wants to play at a second-tier club, Espanyol fans. But anyways, more news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Lamine Yamal is currently on vacation, and he has linked up with Neymar, where the two of them have been posting pictures at the pool, hanging out, having a good time. As you know, Neymar is Lamine Yamal's biggest idol. He grew up watching him play, so the two have linked up. It's only for a few days, and let's hope it stays that way because, as much as I love what Neymar did for the club, let's not keep Lamine Yamal hanging out with him because we all know how Neymar's career ended up with all the partying, the extracurricular activities, let's put it that way. So hopefully that's not the thing that Neymar is teaching Lamine right now. Hopefully he's just teaching him how to be a great star because, after all, Neymar was a great star at some point, and then eventually, of course, that star faded away as he decided to prioritize his fame, his partying, dating models, drinking, etc., etc., etc. Now, Lamine Yamal, his interview was just released by Barca 1. That's the official, channel of the club. They released the third part, and I just wanted to highlight one part because I have talked about this before in the past. So I wanted to highlight it because it kind of goes with a lot of the stuff that I've been saying. But this is part of the interview that has been released on Barca 1, where Lamine Yamal, kind of talks about his ambitions, let's put it that way. Lamine said, I'll improve every year. I'll gain experience and improve my game because in the end, my body will grow and change, and a difference with the rest of my rivals will be noticeable. But every year, I'll get better and more comfortable. Winning the Super Cup gave us a lot of confidence to start the year well. It was very important for the team because losing against our biggest rival was a very hard blow. But the way we won gave us a lot of confidence. It was very good for the team. So the reason, again, I decided to touch up upon these statements is because there's something I've been talking about. Like, Lamine Yamal is great. I think he's the best in the world right now. But let's not forget, he's only 17 years old. He's only a child. His body hasn't even fully matured. His mind, of course, hasn't fully matured. And, of course, as a footballer, right, he hasn't matured. He's still learning. He's still gaining experience. So that means he's only going to get better and better and better. As he plays more, he's going to gain more experience and get better. As he grows older, his body will develop. His muscles will grow. His bones, his ligaments. He's only going to become more explosive, stronger, faster reflexes, right? His mind, technically, like physiologically speaking, is still developing. So that's, as he matures, he gets older, that's only going to help more with his, football IQ. Let's put it that way. So yes, Lamine Yamal is the best in the world, but we have not seen, not even close to how good he could be. He hasn't even reached his full potential. He's not even halfway there to reaching his full potential. So just be ready because Lamine Yamal is a generational talent. And honestly, I cannot wait to see what this youngster has to offer. All right, let's do the comment section. And then we are going to talk about a huge bombshell, a financial fair play bombshell, a bombshell that Javier Tebas is not going to like. He's not going to like. He's going to be crying in his shower, fetal position, hugging himself, tears running down his face, water on his head, and it's not going to be a good night for him. Well, I guess it already is night in Spain, so it's already not a good night for him. But let's see. Raul says, Mo, if it's true, besides Garcia and Nico, we're going for another winger. Either Rashford or Rooney would be a 10 out of 10 summer window. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm actually going to touch a lot on the financial fair play during this podcast, so I'll talk about it in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but thank you for your comment. McCoy says, Ter Stegen has been a good player for the club over the years. Now, What he did to Bravo is happening to him. He should just deal with it just like Bravo did. No one's saying he's not dealing with it. The difference is when Barcelona opted for Ter Stegen. By the way, Ter Stegen did not bully the club into giving him the position. I know I've seen that all over social media, and I've seen people say it in the comment section. Let's forget about Ter Stegen and Bravo. Just think. Do you think it's possible for a club as big as Barca to be bullied by a player, regardless of who it is? Do you think Barcelona are that stupid? Do you think that lowly of your own club that you think Barcelona would sell a goalkeeper and give that position to another goalkeeper because they got bullied? Do you think Barcelona is that weak? Do you think Barcelona is that stupid? Like, seriously, ask yourselves these kind of questions. When you read something on social media, don't just like, oh, that's it. It's the truth. Ask yourself these questions. And maybe it's still true. But for fuck's sake, like, question the information that you're reading. Even the information I give you. Question it. Because do you think this lowly of your club that you think Barcelona would be stupid enough and weak enough to be bullied by a goalkeeper? Do you really think that? Because the decision to put Ter Stegen as the number one, that was purely a tactical decision. Okay? Bravo was Asian. Ter Stegen was the young one, the up-and-coming one of the most promising goalkeepers in Europe at the time. That was a decision to, you think Barcelona signed Joan Garcia because Joan Garcia went into the offices of Barcelona and started bullying him? Like, no. Barcelona have signed Joan Garcia for the same reason now. Because Ter Stegen's Asian. Now we have Joan Garcia. He's young, up-and-coming, promising. Let's stop just repeating and parroting everything we see on social media. Think about what you're reading. Question what you're reading, because it just doesn't add up. It just does not add up. But should Ter Stegen deal with the situation? Absolutely. Yes, he should understand that he's getting older, that a younger goalkeeper is coming to take his place. That's normal. That's football. They can't play football for the rest of their lives. When you hit your 30s, it's pretty much over, unfortunately. So yes, he needs to understand that. But in order for him to understand that, the club has to have a conversation with him. The club haven't told him anything. So yes, he should deal with it. But first, the club needs to talk to him before he can actually deal with it. King Hud says, hey, Mo, hope you had a fantastic day, because with this official signing of Joan, I cannot wait for the squad next season. I know you're against Rashford, but I hope he comes. But Nico is more important. I mean, look, I am against Rashford because we all know, not because of him as a player, because I think as a player, he's a fantastic player, very talented player. I think it's more as a person, because we've seen, he's just caused a lot of problems over the years. He's had problems with all his coaches. He's had problems with Manchester United's leadership, with their sporting department, all his extracurricular activities, all that is just a big, big distraction for any player. And it's a big distraction that players bring into locker rooms. And then it doesn't only affect them, it starts to affect the people around them. And that's why I would rather not have that kind of distraction in Barca's locker room, especially with so many young, impressionable players. The last thing Lamine Yamal should be getting exposed to is some guy who just, doesn't give a shit, just likes to stay out late and party and blah, 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 because it really has a huge effect. Look at Dembele. He finally got his shit together, and now he's like a Ballon d'Or contender, right? The skill was always there, right? The talent was always there. What happened is he wasn't disciplined, right? Because the human body is not really built to be playing at this high level that these athletes do. So in order for your body to keep up with that, you need to be 100% disciplined. And that's 24 hours, right? You need to eat what they tell you to eat at the times that they tell you to eat, in the quantities that they tell you to eat. Water, you got to drink water at the times that they tell you to drink water, in the quantities that they tell you. Your sleep, right? You have to sleep when they tell you to go to sleep, or you have to wake up when they tell you to wake up, naps, stretching, all that. It's being an athlete is 24/7 job. It's not just when you're on the training ground or on the stadium. It's 24 hours. And Dembele didn't do that. Dembele used to stay up late. He would eat pizza and junk food. He would be playing video games. He would be out in the clubs. And that lack of sleep, even if it's just 1 hour, that lack of proper nutrition, that lack of proper hydration, it doesn't allow you to compete at the highest level. And that's why Dembele was constantly injured, because he wasn't taking care of himself. And, when you have players who do that kind of stuff, it affects him. And then it starts affecting people around them, because, people start to be like, well, he's having fun. Maybe I can go out. Maybe I'll go out one night. Maybe, maybe I stay out. And then we don't need that kind of distraction. But if Barcelona sign Nico Williams as a starter, which they will, and Rashford comes as a sub, I guess I'm okay with that, but I would just be worried about the distraction that he can cause. Because remember, being an athlete is not just being good in period. It's also being disciplined. It's also your personality, your intelligence, and I'm not talking about football intelligence. I'm talking about just general intelligence. Because in this day and age, talent is not enough. You need a lot more. Anyways, let's get back to the news, and this one is a big one. This one is a big one. So if you're not sitting down, make sure you do, because this news came out of left field. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are set to receive the 40 million euros that Libero owed them for Barca Vision. Yes, you heard that correctly. Barcelona are set to receive the 40 million euros from the German investment fund Libero that they had failed to pay over a year ago. Now, if you're new to the channel, if you didn't pay attention to those videos talking about Barca Vision and Libero, Barcelona, in order to refloat the club because they were in a very dire financial situation, the Socis approved the sale of the club's assets, 49% of TV rights, which were already sold. Or was it 25? No, 49. And then 49% of Barca Vision, which has been sold to many different investors. Part of those investors was the German investment fund Libero, where Barcelona sold 10% of Barca Vision to Libero in exchange for 60 million euros. Now, these 60 million euros were set to be paid in installments, 20, 20, 20. Libero made the first payment of 20 million euros. Then they were supposed to make the second one. They defaulted. And of course, they didn't pay the third one either. So Barcelona ended up filing a lawsuit against Libero for not honoring their contract. And for those 40 million euros, which, by the way, completely threw Barcelona's plans upside down, because Barcelona were counting on that entire 60 million euros in order to achieve the 1-1 rule. But when Barcelona didn't receive those 40, that, of course, prevented the club from achieving the 1-1 rule, and Barcelona went back down under the 1-1 rule. They were no longer under the 1-1 rule, and that, of course, affected the club in their registration, signing players. That's part of why Olmo and Pau Victor, that whole mess happened, because those 40 million euros that Barcelona did not receive deeply, deeply impacted the club's ability to achieve the 1-1 and therefore register players and sign players. Well, now, out of nowhere, in Germany are reporting that Libero has now decided to pay those 40 million euros that they owed Barcelona. Now, Barcelona were already negotiating with another European investor to sell the shares that belong to Libero, those 40 million euros worth of share, to this new investor. They said the deal was nearly done. And it looks like that somehow put pressure on Libero, where Libero were like, okay, shit, the shares that we own, they're about to, be given to someone else because we didn't pay. And now Libero have decided to pay the 40 million euros that they owed Barcelona. And this is huge, because this should help Barcelona achieve the 1-1 come July 1st, when the new fiscal year begins and where the clubs are issued new salary caps, wage limits, whatever. Okay? So this is big, big, big news. Again, out of left field. I thought the Libero deal was done. That's it. They defaulted in 2 payments. They weren't going to pay it. There's a pending lawsuit. It's over. But out of nowhere, the guys were like, hold on. Here's the money we owed you, I think it was a year and a half ago or something like that. But big, big boost for Barcelona, financial fair play wise. This is why I'm saying Javier Tebas tonight is going to go to bed crying, holding himself, fetal position, crying, because it looks like Barcelona could, after all, achieve the 1-1. All right, we do have a super sticker from Christian Van Dijk, which, again, I do apologize. My streaming software does not allow me to see these stickers, but don't worry, because I'm going to go and look at it on my phone, because I truly appreciate your donation. I appreciate the sticker. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much. Let me see. Where is my channel? Right here. I'm going to click on this. Wait, let me lower the volume so I don't hear myself. And let's skip this ad. And oh, that's pretty cool. I love that sticker. Wait, where's the camera? Is it focusing? Focus. There we go. That's a pretty cool sticker. Thank you, Christian, for your donation, for your very, very generous donation. Thank you for the sticker. Again, I'm sorry that this stupid software doesn't show it, but thank you so much. That's a pretty cool sticker. And let's see what else. Where did my comment section go? Let me put on my glasses because I'm an old man and I can't see. Leroy says, Mo, I'm watching from St. Vincent. Always watching your broadcast, but it's my first live watching from Finland. Kilsinski, thanks again for all the news. No, thank you, my friend, for watching. I'm glad you get to watch this for the first time. Hopefully, you can watch more often. Derek says, hey, Mo, good morning. Thanks for all the updates about our lovely club. I really hope we sign Nico and able to register him as well. As I'm watching all the way from Nigeria. It's 12:30 a.m. Well, thank you, my friend, for staying up late to watch the podcast. Thank you for your comment as well. I will talk about Nico Williams in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but still, thank you for the comment. Empire Studio says, Mo, thank you for the timely update. Please, is there any latest more updates on the signing of Nico and an update on how to fit them on the wage bill? Yes, I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Alexi says, so if we go with the idea that Mats doesn't leave, what do you think the goalkeeper ranking will be? Easy. Let them fight it out. Not physically. Let them fight it out in the preseason. And whoever Flick decides should be the order, then that should be it, you know? Whether it be Joan Garcia first, Matt Ter Stegen second, Chesney third, or I don't know, Mark Ter Stegen first, Garcia second, Tech third. I don't know. But if Mark were to stay, it should be based, the order should be based on merit. It should not be like, oh, well, we signed this guy, so he has to be number one, right? Because we always talk about Barcelona being a merit-based club where it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're old or young or super famous or just barely coming out of the academy or have a huge salary or a small salary. You should be about merit. The better player should get the position. Then it should stay that way, right? So if Ter Stegen decides to stay, then him, Garcia, and Tech should all compete for it. And whoever Flick decides this is my number one, that should be the number one. And whoever's the number two, and number three. And that's it. I'm not married to the idea that, oh, Ter Stegen has to be our goalkeeper. I'm also not married to the idea, oh, Ter Stegen has to leave. Like people are like, oh, it's either one or the other. No, it's not. If the club wants him out, sure. But if he stays, it should be based on merit. Simple as that. 1350 Joker says, finally, some great financial news. Whoop, whoop. Keep up the great news, Mo. Bisca Barca. Bisca Barca. Thank you, my friend, for your donation. And yes, finally, some great financial news. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Speaking of great financial news, let's move on to the next segment because it's also kind of tied into the whole finances of Barcelona. Because, of course, our finances are very important, especially when it comes to the registration of players and, of course, the registration of Nico Williams. Because, as I reported in yesterday's video, Barcelona have already reached a full agreement with the player. Nico Williams has fully agreed to join Barcelona. It's going to be a 6-year contract until 2031 with a salary approximately around 7 to 8 million euros net. That's how much Nico Williams will earn. He has agreed to come. As you know, he's the one who reached out to Barcelona, letting Barcelona know, hey, I want to come. I have all these offers, but I don't care about them. I only want Barca and Barca only. I'm willing to offer whatever you throw my way, whatever terms you have. I'm willing to accept them. And that, of course, prompted Deco to fly to Ibiza, negotiate with the player, and now a full agreement has been reached. By the way, Athletic Club de Bilbao are offering him a 10 million euro salary net, and he's accepted Barca's 7 to 8. So he's definitely losing money by coming to Barcelona because, ladies and gentlemen, as Laporta has said before, everybody wants to play for Barca, something that Bartomeu never understood. You know, Bartomeu used to be like, all right, we want this guy. Oh, that club is offering him 20. Let's offer him 40 to convince him to come here. It's like, you don't need to, bro. You don't need to. This is FC Barcelona. Players grow up since they're little kids dreaming of playing here. You don't need to offer them more. You don't need to double it. Hell, you don't even need to offer them the same. Players are coming here willing to earn less. Nico Williams, Rafinha, Kunde, so many players, Lewandowski, were being offered much, much higher salaries somewhere else, and they decided to forego that to come to Barcelona and earn less, because this is FC freaking Barcelona. People want to play here. Now, the news is, of course, it's tied to the registration of Nico, because Nico has agreed. Great. Next thing is the release clause, of course, to pay the release clause, which Barcelona are confident they're going to be able to do, whether it's by just paying directly or taking out a loan, which, by the way, Athletic Club Bilbao are already letting their media outlets, the ones that they're connected to, know and spread the message that we will not negotiate. No payment plans, no installments, nothing. You want the player, you pay it full, you pay it cash, you pay it right away. That's the only way you're going to get Nico Williams. So Barcelona are confident, of course, of paying the release clause. And then the third piece of the puzzle is the financial fair play. Now, Barcelona are confident that they will be under the 1-to-1 rule come July 1st. Remember, June 30th is the last day of the fiscal year. All clubs turn over their financial paperwork. La Liga reviews it, and they issue new salary caps, and a new fiscal year begins on July 1st. Barcelona are confident, 100% confident, that on July 1st, they will be under the 1-to-1 rule. Why? Because, as you might recall, at the end of December, when the registrations of Daniel and Pau Victor were about to expire, Barcelona sold the rights to VIP seats at the Spotify Camp Nou to two Middle Eastern investors in exchange for 100 million euros. Barcelona then presented that paperwork to La Liga, and La Liga eventually approved it. They took some time, but eventually approved it and said, okay, with those 100 million euros, you're officially under the 1-to-1 rule. But then what happened? Barcelona hired an auditor called Crow. I think it's Crow or Crowy. I think it's Crow. They reviewed Barcelona's finances and they said, sorry, we cannot recommend that those 100 million euros count as income because the VIP seats are not built, which kind of makes sense. It's kind of like if you decide, okay, I'm going to build an apartment. It's going to be a rental property, right? I'm going to rent it out and make money. And then you go apply for a loan for a car or something. And they're like, all right, what's your income? And you're like, oh, well, I'm earning $3,000 off this apartment that I'm renting. Is the apartment built? No, it's being built. So you're not earning $3,000 right now. No, but I will. Okay, but right now you're not. So I can't give you the loan. Kind of something like that. So Crow said, sorry, those 100 million cannot count because those seats don't exist yet. They submitted their report to La Liga, and La Liga said, well, if the auditor is saying those 100 million euros don't exist because the seats don't exist, we cannot count it. So you're not going to be under the 1-to-1. But what happened? Since then, the construction company, Limac, that's building the Spotify Camp Nou, have already built those seats. So now Barcelona are going to go back to the auditor, Crow, and say, hey, look, you said we couldn't count the 100 million because the seats are not built. Well, now they are. So can you, change your report, say that they can count, and then submit that to La Liga, and then La Liga, should say, okay, now that they're built, you can account for those 100 million. Well, when La Liga first accounted for those 100 million, they said you're under the 1-to-1 rule. So Barcelona think now when La Liga once again approves the 100 million because the seats are built, Barcelona should be under the 1-to-1 rule once again because they were already under it thanks to this 100 million euros. And of course, we still have the income that we're going to get, the 40 million euros from Libero, who have decided to pay, plus the players that Barcelona have offloaded, like Alex Valle, and the players that Barcelona have made money from. We talked about them. Jean-Claire Todibo, Trincao. No, sorry, not Trincao. Alex Collado, Trincao, if he moves, maybe. So Barcelona already made a lot of money from players that have been sold that Barcelona still owned rights in. They couldn't make more because there are other players that could be on the move that they still have own rights in. Plus, there's the players that Barcelona hope to offload, like Pablo Torre, Christensen, Pau Victor, and the salaries that they're going to remove, like hopefully Ansu Fati, Ter Stegen, Oriol Romeo. So between all of that, Barcelona are very, very confident that they're going to achieve the 1-to-1 rule on July 1st, and therefore that the Nico Williams registration will be completed by then. So Barcelona expect to finalize the whole Nico signing. We're talking about paying the release clause and registering him by the end of this month. We'll see if that timeline is achieved because, as you know, Flick wants Nico Williams on July 13th, first day of the preseason, so he can start with him since day one. Plus, Nico Williams wants to avoid having to go to the preseason with Athletic Club Bilbao, because that would be a pretty uncomfortable situation. Like, hey guys, I'm leaving, but I'm here. I'll trade with you, but I'm leaving in a few days. Bye. So, but anyways, that's the good news. Barcelona confident that they will achieve the 1-1 and that they will be able to register Nico Williams. And as such, this signing should be getting completed by the end of this month, hopefully before the preseason begins. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about a meeting that Deco had yesterday with a Swedish attacker. All right, let's see what everyone's saying. Mohammed says, Mo, why aren't Barca reinforcing their defense? Because we have Inigo, Garcia, Ronald Araujo, Andreas Christensen, Eddie Garcia, and Kunde. We have 6 center backs right now for 2 positions, right? Not to mention players in the academy, Andy Farré, Dominguez. Yeah, plenty of center backs. Why would you want to reinforce the center back position? Now, if you're talking about fullbacks, on the right we have Kunde, Hector Fort, and Eddie Garcia. On the left we have Balde, Gerard Martin, and Landy Farré. So 3 players per 1 position. In the center back we have 8 for 2. That's the least position that needs to be reinforced. Karim says, hey Mo, I'm from Nigeria. I'm one of your fans. I need you to help me. I need money to pay my house rent. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. Fortunately, there's not something I can do or know how to do. But thank you for your comment. I hope things get much better for you. And yeah, Manuel says Barcelona are really doing their best on their transfer win. Mo, I'm De Santos from Ghana. More updates on Barcelona. Don't worry, there's another update. Don't worry. Let's see what else. Psychedelic says, I cannot believe we in 2025 are still talking about 1-1 rule. I'm waiting the days we don't have to think about all pennies we get. Yeah, me too. But I mean, financial fair play is something we have to talk about always, because financial fair play, changes for every transfer market, right? We might stay under the 1-1, hopefully forever, but your wage cap is still going to change with every transfer market, right? Depending on how much money you made, depending on how many players you offloaded, how many players you sign. So that's always going to be changing. That's always going to be a constant. Hopefully the 1-1 rule we always stay under, but as far as your wage cap, your financial fair play, how much room you have to maneuver, that's always going to be changing based on, many factors. Uncle Joe says, hey Mo, I saw Marcus Rashford is now being linked to Madrid. It's as though Madrid waits. I don't think Madrid are considering Rashford. I don't think they would. They already have so many wingers. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that news. Justice Boya says, hello Mo, Justice Boya from Gambia. I'm really excited to see the Nico Williams saga going on well, the transfer, and I wish we sign him. Vizca Barca. Well, he already agreed to sign. So agreement is there. Just a matter of triggering the release clause. And Masemola says, hey Mo, look, Fermin, Olmo, or Rafa, but look, you said relationship were broken between Bilbao. What do you mean? And what caused it? In South Africa, watch the Club World last game at 3 a.m. Relationship is broken because the whole Negreira thing, right? When Negreira investigation was offered, Bilbao were like, they released a statement like, oh my God, I can't believe Barca did that. I guess, innocent until proven guilty doesn't exist in Basque Country. They also refused to fly to Barcelona and have the luncheon with Laporta and his board or attend the VIP box. Whenever the team has gone there, the fans have chanted really nasty things about Barca's players, coaches, the club and the president. They even the fans organized this thing when Barcelona went there last season to their stadium, and they were throwing the whole stadium was throwing these bills, these fake money bills with Laporta's face on it. Something along the way, said for sale or something like that. So they've been very nasty about the whole situation. So that's why. So it's kind of Barcelona's all right, well, if that's how you treat me, then fuck you too, right? So that's what I mean by the relationship is broken. But let's do the last bit of news. Let's do the last bit of news, because ladies and gentlemen, Deco and Bojan met for lunch with Rooney Bargi. Now, Rooney Bargi is someone I talked about, I think it was last summer, if I'm not mistaken. It was someone who was on Barcelona's radar. He is a 19-year-old right winger. He is originally Syrian, born in Kuwait, but grew up in Sweden. He currently plays for FC Copenhagen, and his style is more of like direct. He's a dribbler, and he's been compared kind of to like Arjen Robben. He has kind of like that same similar profile that Arjen Robben. Someone that has been showing a lot of promise. A lot of clubs were after him. He came very close to signing for a big club, but unfortunately, he had a serious injury, a knee injury. They kind of sidelined him, and whatever deals he had on the table kind of dried up and everything fell through. And so far, clubs who were interested in him have been a little bit cautious. They kind of want to see how he recovers and how he, responds to the therapy and how he comes back from the injury. But Barcelona are reportedly still interested in the player. They believe it's a great market opportunity, a great bet for the future. Why? Because right now his market valuation is 7.5 million euros and his contract expires on December 31. So at the end of this year. So Barcelona could technically sign him for a steal, right? Only 6 months left on his contract. His value is only 7.5 mil. So you could probably negotiate a much lower value, which I think that would be a great bet because, like I've said many times before, I'm all about signing young, promising players because you pay very little. And if they work out, you just hit the lottery. You got a freaking amazing player for nothing. Like Pedri, we'd be paid what, like 10 million or something, some crazy thing like that. And if they don't work out, yeah, it sucks, but you're only out 5 million versus being out 130 million, which is what we ended up paying for Dembele, or I think it ended up being 140 or something like that. Right? So these are the kind of gambles that Barcelona should be making, right? Low cost, young, promising players, because if they pay off big. And if you lose, well, you don't lose that much. But it's reported that, again, Deco and Bojan flew to Norway, met with a player for lunch to see kind of like what are his plans. Is he looking to leave now? Is he looking to leave later? Where is he planning to go? And of course, Barcelona informed him, hey, we're interested. So if you would like to come to Barcelona, the doors are open. Now, there are other, of course, clubs who are interested in Rooney Bargi, including Porto, who have already submitted an official bid. So we'll see what club Rooney Bargi knows. But for now, Barcelona interested in him. They have notified him that they're interested in him. But for now, also, if he does want to come to Barcelona, he is going to have to wait because Barcelona right now are prioritizing the signing of Nico. They want to trigger the release clause. They want to register him and then turn their eye to Rooney Bargi because Nico Williams, of course, still the number one priority. And if it turns out that you can only sign one or the other, of course, Barcelona are not going to say no to Nico to bring Bargi, right? That doesn't make sense. So for now, Barcelona have let the player know we're interested in you, but we first have to tie up the Nico Williams deal. All right. That is all the news for this podcast. Let's do a few more comments and then we'll end it. And then, of course, there will be a video later tonight because yes, there is more news. Masimola says, hey, Mo, when you said, oh, wait, I already read that. Sorry. Brennan says, hey, Mo, watching from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Always enjoy your video. My question is, why does it seem like La Liga is being run by a dictator, Tebas, and no club confronts him on his decisions? I mean, it's not run as a dictator. He is the president of La Liga. So at the end of the day, he has the final say, right? That doesn't make him a dictator because there are elections and you can pick someone else. But why do the clubs keep picking him? That's beyond me. I mean, I've said this all the time about Barcelona. If Tebas is so hostile to Barca, why the fuck do we keep voting for him, right? Why did Laporta vote in favor of Tebas' salary increase? Why doesn't Laporta file an official complaint against Tebas when Atletico Madrid, is it Atletico Madrid? Yeah, Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid have already filed their own complaints. If Barcelona filed their own complaint, then he would be suspended. He would not be the president anymore. But Barcelona still insists on not doing it. So a lot of times, our own wounds are self-inflicted. Because, yes, Tebas sucks, but he's able to suck so much because we let him. Because we could have filed that complaint a very long time ago, and he would be gone. But Laporta refuses to. And why? I don't get it. So we can't really complain that much, because it's kind of like, the fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It kind of applies to Barca right now, right? You know someone is terrible. You know someone is bad for you, but you keep them there. It's like kind of like being in a toxic relationship. Like, this girl is not good for you, but there you are every day. And then you complain to your friend, my girlfriend is my girl. It's like, bro, you're the one who chooses to be with her. You cannot complain. Same thing with Barca. Yeah, Tebas fucking sucks. But at some point, it's like, all right, we can't complain because we're allowing it to happen, right? And we actually can do something about it. So it's like, Amadou says, hello, I'm from Guinea. Conakry, I am Barcelona fan, always both. I don't want Christensen to leave Barcelona. He is key player for the file. And Fermin Lopez also need to stay for the T. Fermin is staying. The player does not want to leave, and Barcelona don't want to get rid of him. Flick wants to keep him. As far as Christensen, unfortunately, Flick would rather keep him, but Deco sees it as, a market opportunity. He arrived for free. So, you sell him. It's all pure profit. You remove a decent-sized salary off your wage bill, and then that position can be covered by an academy player who costs you nothing also, and whose salary is a fraction. Because at the end of the day, Christensen is going to be, a bench player at the end of the day, right? He's going to be. So instead of having a senior player who's a bench player, Deco thinks, okay, we can have an academy player to be a bench player, and we can make money off the sale of Christensen. Aeon says, Mo, how are we going to manage our midfield with 8 players and Rafa moving to... That's a good question. But don't forget, that's a great problem to have. Who doesn't want to have that problem where you have so many good players that you have to be like, oh my God, what do I do? Anybody would love that problem. But my guess would be probably Pedri, Frankie, and Rafinha. With eventually, maybe not this season, maybe this season, maybe halfway to the season, maybe next season, it'd be like Pedri, Bernal, and Rafinha. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's definitely a great problem to have so many good players that you have to figure out. Oh, Shin says you skipped over my comments. I'm sorry, my friend. Let me see. What did I skip? I'm scrolling up. I don't see any other comments. I only see that one. Or am I going blind? Also, this thing keeps moving. Like I scroll up and it's like, it does this every time a comment comes in. But if you want to repeat what you said, I'll be happy to read it. Jamfe says, what happened to the young Portugal winger that Barca were linked to? If you're talking about Cardoso Varela, Barcelona have agreed with the player and his agent that they will sign him next year because he's 16 years old. They want him to spend another season playing in first division football with Dinamo Zagreb. They're set to play the Europa League, so he'll be able to, keep growing and developing in first division football in Europa League. Versus if he comes to Barca, he's not going to play in the first team. He's going to have to go to Barca Athletic. And in Barca Athletic, he will be playing in fourth division. So it's much better that he plays in first division Croatian football and Europa League versus playing fourth division with Barca Athletic. So Barcelona have decided to keep him there for another year. And then they're going to sign him next summer of 2026. All right, let's see. Prime Barca says, Mo, what's your stream schedule if you have one? It's every Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, usually around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the exclusive podcast only for channel members. And let's do the last comment. But the Deji says, I think we should put Olmo on the transfer list. He is a surplus already now that we are moving for Nico and moving Rafinha to the midfield. We can't. Because there's a thing called amortization. We paid 60 million euros for him. He's only spent one season here. So we've only amortized 12 million. So that means we still owe 48 million euros for him. So in order to sell him, it would have to be for a big tag price, which nobody's going to pay. And, anything less than 48 million will be taking a loss, which would then impact your financial fair play negatively. Plus, the player's not going to want to leave. So, should never sign him. Well, anyways. All right. That is all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. For your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, your generous donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And, of course, if you haven't dropped a comment, make sure you do. I want to read you guys' thoughts and opinions about everything that I share with you. I will be posting another video later tonight, so stay tuned to the channel. See you in that video. And as always, peace, guys.